The American president has been throwing wrenches into this Canadian federal election campaign, right, left, and center. So many, in fact, that it's been hard to keep track. Donald Trump's so-called Liberation Day aimed tariffs at a list of countries he felt had targeted America, from China to islands with no human inhabitants, just penguins. Russia was not on the list, neither were Mexico or Canada, but that doesn't mean we're in the clear. American tariffs kicked off on vehicles and auto parts made in this country that are non-NAFTA 2.0 compliant. Mark Carney hit back with 25% tariffs slapped on American-made vehicles that are not compliant with the trade deal. But major instability has already been felt. Layoffs, temporary car plant closures, and markets on both sides of the border spiraled downwards. All amid fears this has us hurtling towards an economic cliff, head-on into a recession. A dear friend of the show, former U.S. Ambassador to Canada, David Cohen, joins us now. So nice to see you again, Ambassador Cohen. Welcome back.
Well, it's great. It's great to see you, and it's great to be on your air again. I've missed all my friends in Canada, and I think it's important for my voice to continue to be heard so that Canadians know that for the vast majority of Americans, Canada remains our most important friend, our most important ally, and our most important partner.
I know it's reassuring for Canadians to hear from you and to hear that from you. You are very much missed up here, as you can imagine. Watching these tariffs unfold and the developments from the fentanyl tariffs through to the ones announced this week, including auto, has sent shockwaves through the global community. A lot of the global community catching up now to what Canada has been exposed to for the past few months. As you watch this unfold, I know you are extremely well connected politically. What are you hearing from Americans about this?
So what I'm hearing from Americans, and it's Republicans and Democrats, this is a bipartisan reaction, is a lot of nervousness about these across-the-board tariffs. And I've always been clear that for me personally and for a lot of people, there may be a role for tariffs in particular circumstances. Look, I spent 3 years when I was in Canada defending softwood lumber tariffs being imposed against Canada by the United States. But across-the-board tariffs that hit every country, every product, it is almost impossible to defend them. And this $6 trillion overall impact from the tariffs that President Trump announced this week equates to the largest tax increase since the 1930s that the United States has imposed on its citizenry. And you see the impact by the stock market. In the United States, the stock market lost $3 trillion of value. That's American companies losing $3 trillion of their market capitalization in the first day after President Trump's tariffs. And you see stock markets in Canada, in Japan, and around the world experiencing that. And to me, one of the things that I watch is what is the potential impact of these tariffs on the United States, on Canada, and globally in terms of our prospects for recession. So JP Chase came out with a projection that the chances of a global recession now in the wake of President Trump's tariff announcement are up to 60%, 60%. That makes Americans nervous. That makes senators nervous, congressmen nervous, it makes governors nervous, it makes business people nervous, and we're already seeing the beginnings of this with layoffs. Stellantis announcing layoffs in the United States, 900 layoffs in Windsor, 4,500 layoffs in the Windsor Stellantis facility, plus 1,500 more layoffs from parts manufacturers supplying those plants. Whirlpool in Iowa announces 650 layoffs as a result of these tariff announcements. So you're seeing the adverse impacts, you're seeing the nervousness beginning to develop, and I think the momentum on that will only continue to build.
One of the things that Prime Minister Carney said that was jarring for Canadians, although I think a lot felt there was truth in it, is that the Canada-U.S. relationship has changed, that it's no longer the relationship we thought we had. You spent so many years here building this relationship, and as you look at this and how it's unfolding, and the comments about the 51st state and our sovereignty in particular, which has been what has really gotten under the skin and concerned a lot of Canadians, do you believe that the relationship has fundamentally changed, or do you think it can go back to where it was and we can still rely on America for defense and for trade?
I think it's a matter of tense, which is, I think there is no doubt that Prime Minister Carney is right that as of today, the relationship has changed. But history is a funny thing, and I'll just remind everyone that at the end of the first Trump administration, a lot of people in Canada thought the relationship had changed. I mean, when I came to Canada, I can't tell you how many people said to me, what happened to our relationship? We used to be best friends. And in a typical Canadian fashion, I heard from just grassroots people as well as elected officials, is this something that we did wrong? And that is why I adopted as a central element of my service as ambassador and talked to the president about this and emphasized to him the importance of him delivering this message, is that fundamentally for America, nothing had changed. And so I believe there's a 150-year reservoir of a deep and broad partnership and relationship. I don't think 70-some days can cause that to be permanently eradicated, but this is something the United States did wrong, not something that Canada did wrong, and it's going to require the United States to be able to come back and rebuild this relationship once there is the opportunity to do so.
Ambassador David Cohen, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your knowledge. We miss having you here, and great to have you back on the show.
Well, I miss you all, and I miss being on the show, so thanks for having me on.